Hey everybody, it's Chevy, Nobody Else's Auto. Out on the road again, obviously. You can see we're not out in central and western Kansas right now. We're in a whole different part of the world at a buddy of mine's place. Now, he's to the point where he can't get out here on a regular basis anymore, so he's not open to the public. So like we've told you on all these videos, if you have any questions, you need to give me a call, and I can catch up with him the next time I get through this part of the world. I'm usually through here a couple times a year, not real regularly, but at least he's kind enough to let me do some videos and share this stuff with you. This yard's been here since the early 60s. There's never been a crusher on the place. Everything's here. They've hauled a few things in for scrap over the years, but they've never came in here and just started cleaning any part of this yard out ever. So it's pretty cool, and you never know what's around the next corner. That's what makes it interesting. So like I said, even though he's not open to the public, he is fortunate enough to let me share some of it with you on these videos. A lot of this stuff is rough. It's been here for a really long time. A lot of it have had a lot of parts stripped off of it. And a lot of people say that, you know, this stuff should just be crushed. It's not good for anything. But I don't agree with that, because there's a lot of bits and pieces in here that are tough to find. Some people say none of this stuff's any good. It's all stripped, gutted four-doors. Well, there's a lot of people out there building nice drivers out of old four-doors. So when there's still good bits and pieces on them, I don't think they should be crushed. So even though some of the stuff we're going to see is rough, it's a wet part of the country, so there's a lot of rust here, but there's still a lot of trim and a lot of bits and pieces. So as you can see behind me, we're standing in front of one of the transmission piles, just catching a little bit of shade here since it's the middle of summer and it's pretty warm and pretty sticky. But when we got the opportunity to do it, like I said, I don't get through this part of the world very often, but when I do, I always want to stop and share a little bit of it with you. So let's go wander around a bit, check out a few more pieces of cool old iron he's got stashed back in here. As you can see, we're standing in front of one of the transmission piles. We've showed you some of the engine piles out of here before, but one of the transmission piles. Stuff that's been pulled out of cars over the years. Like I said, they've been here since the early 60s. Let's go do a little bit of wandering around and maneuver around some of these trees, check out a few cars. The remnants of an old Ford pickup. There again, not a lot left of this one. Pretty heavily stripped. And back here on its side, this is kind of interesting. 1959 Pontiac Catalina. You see how long this thing has been in here. Tipped up on the left side. And this car was actually even a two-door hardtop. But pretty much not a heck of a lot left of it. A few bits and pieces of trim and things like that, but as we can tell by peeking inside, this car is rusty. We can look straight through the floor, straight out to the trees on the other side. Obviously, I'm sure there's nothing left of the other side. Obviously, nothing left of the interior. But still kind of interesting to see it. We'll try to kind of work our way out around here. It gets pretty thick and pretty heavy in here at times. Kind of work our way around to a little bit clearer area where we can see some stuff. And there's an old Dodge Dart. The 67, 68, or 69 body style of Dart. What do we got over here on this side of the trees? There's an old 51 or 2 Ford pickup and the nose out of an old DeSoto. This looks interesting. An old camper. And if we look up there on the dash, I can see Plymouth, which I guess kind of makes sense because those look like Plymouth taillights. Kind of some fancy windows. And this was literally built onto a 53 Plymouth. So let's see if we can figure this out. This looks like, based on the length of the door, this was probably a two-door sedan. They just cut the body right there, it appears like. Cut the roof and put this camper on it. Had some open flap windows on the front there to get a little air through it. This thing definitely had the aerodynamics of a brick. Actually, I think a brick may have been a little bit more aerodynamic than this. Kind of take a look over here on the other side. Got some trees growing up over there. Okay, not really sure what this was. They cut a hole in the front fender over here, and I'm not really sure why. There is a bracket down at the bottom of that hole, like you could have sat something in there. Obviously it had rubber around the sides so the edges weren't so sharp, I'm assuming. Not really sure what that was for, and not really sure where they were going with this project, but apparently somebody needed a camper and all they had was a Plymouth, so they built them one. Now back to our aerodynamic discussion. Let's take a step back, look at this thing from the front, and we've got a brick laying right here. So I don't know, I think it's a toss-up. But the brick might have the aerodynamic advantage in this particular situation. Here's the back of this old Ford. This is kind of interesting. We saw the nose of this 51, 52 Ford while we were up front, but this was actually an old gen truck, old winch truck. Check out the old aftermarket bumper. Wow, this was quite a machine in its day. Okay, let's see what we had going on here with this one. Obviously the Plymouth was interesting. This Ford here looks pretty interesting as well. We can see the poles. Not really sure what the big hook was up on top. They had to cut out the bed and a large portion of the rear fender to clear this hand crank winch. Check out the gears on this thing. I don't think I'd have wanted to tow a lot of cars having to hand crank this thing with this configuration. And it still works. Check that out, guys. See if we can get a little better angle on it. And it is actually sucking the cable in. The cable's laying inside there and it is actually sucking. I can't believe that thing is not rusted solid. But probably because these gears are so huge and so massive, they probably couldn't. If it was smaller, finer stuff, I bet they would have been. But we can see why they had to cut the fender and the bedside out for this thing to work. You can even back it up. But man, I don't think I would have wanted to crank a lot of cars up with that thing. Still super cool that it still cranks though. Moving on from the old winch truck, checking out some more cool old irons sitting around here. How about this old Chrysler? You know, there again, this stuff's been in here for a long time, and it has definitely seen better days, but man, there's still a lot of bits and pieces on a lot of this stuff in here. It's part of an old truck. This was a big old heavy duty truck. We can see by the tires and wheels on this thing. Lots of other bits and pieces laying around here. We can see some of the framework here. This was another old winch truck. We see how this bed was laid out. It's been removed from the truck itself, or it was cut in half because the rear axle's still here. We see these gin poles actually run way back here, clear back under this old Ford. So this was a big truck with big, huge winch poles. And to give you an idea how long it's been sitting in here, we can check out this tree that has literally grown up around the winch poles. And there's bits and pieces of stuff laying everywhere in here. Look like right there's a 58 Buick Parklight housing. Obviously busted up, but been there for a long time. Just bits and pieces laying everywhere. 4950 era Ford taillight. Another old Ford pickup. 59. Take a look at this old Galaxy while we're over here. Crunched pretty good back here. Been in here a long time. Missing a lot of pieces, but this was another Ford or hardtop. I believe this was an XL. Were these an XL or XLT? We can see it had the ornament on the top, and there's the old bezel for it. It had the extra fancy trim. Look at all the trim around the roof line of this car. But like I've talked about before, there's a lot of rust in this area. It is a wet environment. We can see this roof. Of course, it did have a vinyl top on it, which held a lot of moisture. We can see how bad the roof is, even up here on the front. And then a lot of these cars obviously are not much better on the bottom, because we can look around here and take a look in the trunk, or what was formerly known as the trunk of this old 66 Ford. How about another big old Ford wagon from the mid-70s? Fox body Mustang. An early one that there just isn't a heck of a lot left of that one. Here's something kind of different. How about a Grand Prix mid-70s T-top car? In fact, I actually think I grabbed the tops off this car years and years ago. I think I bought those a long time ago. I think I've still got them stashed. Actually, seeing this kind of reminds me I probably better see if I can find those T-top panels again. Let's try to catch a few more, and then we're going to move over to a different part of this yard and check out some more cool stuff. Old Mopar, mid-60s. Let's see if we can catch the trim tag on this Grand Prix real quick. 77 on that Grand Prix. How about a pair of Mavericks? These little cars are getting pretty popular. These are just basic old 4-doors. But there again, there's a lot of bits and pieces left on them. A lot of trim, a lot of front end pieces, dash pieces, things like that that will work on 2-doors. How about the Chevy Citation? Yep, don't see a lot of those anymore. Might be a good reason for that. Probably not the best car GM ever cranked out, but kind of something a little bit different, something you don't see every day. And you know, they did make some of these that were kind of cool, the X11s and things like that, where there again, for the day, not a great car, but a fairly sporty little car. And if you have one of those little X11s, where are you ever going to find pieces for them? It's because guys like this still have some of these things sitting around. '61 Buick Special 4-door. Now, I'm not really sure where they were going with this deal, but quite a trailer hitch. One, this is a 61 Special. This is a small car, compact car. Not a big, heavy-duty beast. But somebody came up with this trailer hitch contraption with 2 balls, one on each side. Not really sure where they were going with that. Probably would not turn very well had they had a trailer configured up that way. But they had some plan for it. They even had a plug here for the trailer lights for whatever they were towing. I don't know if it was some sort of a car dolly or what, but like I said, it's still a 61 Special. You're not gonna haul a heck of a lot with a 61 Special, no matter how you slice it. In fact, let's kind of work our way up to the front and see if we can see what power plant this Special had in it. And it did have a V8. This had the small aluminum V8, the little 215. So for the size of car, it probably had enough power for itself, but I still don't think you were going to be pulling a lot of weight with a 61 Buick Special. Well, there you have it, guys. Some more cool stuff from my buddy's yard. Like I said, I'm just fortunate that he allows us to come in here and look around, share some of it with you, but he's just not to the point where he can get out here anymore and do this on a regular basis, so he's not open to the public. So like I said, just give me a shout if you've got any questions. I get through this part of the world a couple times a year, so give me a shout, 620-786-4428. See if there's something we can help you out with next time I'm through this area. But if you like this stuff, you like this digging through the old junkyards, you like old cars, you like old trucks, you like seeing me finding them out of pastures and barns, be sure to click that subscribe button and check out the Nobody Show channel. We got a lot of videos on here. It's all old car stuff, toys, memorabilia, cars, trucks. That's about all I know, so that's what we do on here. Salvage yards, swap meets, auctions, and of course all the stuff I drag into the yard at Nobody Else's Auto. So we do it because we have a lot of fun with it and we enjoy it, and we hope you enjoyed it as well. So be sure to click that subscribe button. Click that notification button. We do a lot of cool live stuff. You don't want to miss any of that. Give me a shout if you've got any other questions. And stay tuned. We've got a lot more cool stuff coming up. I've been buying a ton of cars. We've got a lot of new inventory hitting the ground. You don't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching this video. We sure hope to see you soon on the next one.